What is good, Steelers Nation? 3-0. That feels pretty good. Decided to go live. I know a lot of you guys hit me up on Twitter. Been a couple weeks since I think we did a live stream on the channel. And I'm in a pretty good mood following that big time win in the home opener against the LA Chargers. I was really excited about this matchup. I know I talked a long time on the preview this week just because when studying the Chargers, I really appreciated just the physical attitude that their offense kind of played with. And I thought their defense was playing with a little bit of attitude as well. So I was kind of anticipating this one being a little bit of a slugfest in the first half. I felt like that was pretty much the case. I mean, it looks like these teams were kind of going blow for blow, that it was going to be low scoring. Only 30 points scored in this one, but I really felt like over the course of the second half of this game, the Steelers' identity and their toughness kind of started to shine through. And that was really what I wanted to see the most from this game, because I thought, this was a game, like I said, I thought it was going to be a really good precursor or preview of AFC North football. And that's what this felt like. I know Greg Roman, Jim Harbaugh, like those guys are like old school, hard-nosed coaches, have a really particular smash mouth type of way that they like to play. I said that I thought the Steelers defense matched up pretty well on paper with their group. I thought they had some advantages, particularly on the inside of both lines of scrimmage that kind of showed up in some key moments today. But I thought really like just kind of hitting it off on people that I thought played extremely well. I thought the edge rushers collectively on both teams played extremely well. I thought Khalil Mack was fantastic. He looks like a guy that's somehow still not aging. He had a really good game today. He gave the Steelers run game a lot of trouble, especially in the first half. But, TJ Watt, I thought as soon as they started getting him, the Steelers started playing with the lead, and the Chargers weren't able to chip block him on past situations. I thought that, he started kind of getting the better of Joe Alt. He just feels inevitable, man. Like it seems like in the fourth quarter or late in games when the Steelers need a splash play, he comes through. But honestly, it was kind of another guy that kind of got everything jump started. I thought that Nick Herbig's kind of inclusion or insertion into the defensive lineup, unfortunately, due to Alex Highsmith's injury, was really like a turning point in this game. He beat Rashawn Slater on the final play of the half on the Hail Mary. He missed Herbert, wasn't able to bring him down for the sack. Then he beat Slater again in the early in portion of the second half. And then he had another sack against the backup. And I think that's like, this Steelers front seven, we talked about it in the offseason. I felt like they were as talented or more than really any other front in the league. Like I thought that they had that sort of potential. And so far, like the defense has been dominant through 3 weeks. And I think the front seven has a lot to do with that. In particular, the pass rush. I thought the pass rush in the first half was a little bit lacking. They were trying a lot of 4-man rushes. Herbert was doing a good job kind of minimizing some of those plays by getting the ball out quickly, finding guys, getting to his second, third progression, things like that. But I do also want to mention Cam Hayward continues to look fantastic. Like, honestly, like I was pretty confident, and I think I remember saying this after we did kind of the reaction to his contract extension, that, even if he's kind of a really stout run defender, still owns the line of scrimmage, consistently generating knockback, resetting, taking back space as a run defender, that was going to mean that extension was going to look good really until his play like fell off a cliff. And I wasn't really going to believe that it was going to fall off a cliff in that regard until I physically saw it, just because his game is based on power, and that typically ages a little bit better. But what he's done as a pass rusher so far, these last 2 weeks in particular, man, I mean, that was really, really impressive. I mean, I will tweet this play out for sure on Twitter this week, but the overthrow that Herbert had in the end zone, I can't remember who it was running the end breaker, but like Hayward did a great job compressing the pocket, and I really felt like that affected the accuracy of those throws. So fantastic. I can't speak enough about like the way that the front seven played. And another guy too that I thought really set the tone on defense for the Steelers, Patrick Queen. I thought by far his best game of the season. I thought he was fantastic, especially in the first half, just setting the tone. This is a game, I mentioned this through the week, but I really felt like this was a game that you go out and sign a guy like Patrick Queen for. This is the reason why you bring a guy like Landon Roberts here. These games where teams want to get cute and get in these like 2-3 tight end personnel packages, you want to bring a converted converted defensive linemen in at fullback and try to run all this stuff down your throat. Like, that's why you invest in off-ball linebackers. And I thought that those two in particular really set the tone from a physicality standpoint. Queen had multiple good run stops early in this game. He was flying around the ball. Really, I hated it for him that he didn't come down with that interception because I thought it was a really good play. Man, it's a killer. But hopefully, he'll put himself into more positions to make those types of plays as the season kind of goes on. But what a win, though. Like, not just like that they got the win and it was 3-0. I really feel more encouraged about this win today than I had like the previous two. And that has a lot to how they just like kind of finished the game. I want to talk extensively really about Justin Fields because I know that's probably why a decent amount of you guys are in here. I know that that's why a lot of people were hitting me up on the Twitter sphere asking me if I was going to go live. So I do want to talk about Justin Fields. I see that we've already got like 75, 80 people in here at the moment. Really appreciate y'all jumping on here without any type of notice beyond a 5-minute heads up on Twitter. If y'all could, please hit that like button for me. That just helps, it's an easy, free way to support the channel, gets more people, gets more views on this thing. And I really appreciate that. Justin Fields, I thought he was fantastic today. I really did. I thought outside of the one kind of forced throw to Patterson on the stick route in the second half, which, ended up getting batted all around and landed magically in Dupree's arms. I thought outside of that, like, he was dang near flawless. I think the biggest thing for me is this was the most confident that I've seen Fields look in quite a while, definitely since he's been in Pittsburgh. Just his decisiveness as a passer in the pocket, willing to push the ball down the field. I thought he hit multiple tight window throws, and they actually used the middle of the field. Like, coming into this game, they did. I think their longest completion in terms of like air yards over the middle of the field was like 6 or 7 yards. Today, I think they had multiple in between the numbers, at least 2, maybe 3. The 55-yard touchdown to Calvin Austin was huge. He had another one that he ripped to Calvin Austin over the middle. He hit Pickens in between the numbers, and then he even had some drops in the first half that I thought were kind of unfortunate, especially seeing that those passes were intended for the Steelers' best players. I thought Pickens should have had that one on the slant. It was really tight coverage by Samuel, but that was definitely a good throw. Definitely one that I think Pickens comes down with 9 times out of 10, and then that he threaded the needle on that throw to Freiermuth, man. They were running like a double slant concept, which is really something that Art loved. He loved running that in Atlanta. We hadn't seen that very much this year so far. But that's something like in terms of like what quick game concepts can we get Justin up to speed on, finding ways to get, we've talked a lot about in the film room of like trying to find, singles in the offense, trying to keep this thing on schedule with the passing game. And I thought they did that largely. And then we saw him, even get outside the pocket. He found Pickens down the sideline at one point too. The rushing touchdown in the red zone, I mean, that's just like easy money for a guy like him. That's kind of the reason why, what makes him so dynamic, especially once you get into scoring position like that. But I thought he looked fantastic, man. I was very, very encouraged by this performance. Especially just the way that he did it. I don't really care about like what the box score looks like necessarily, but I just thought over the first half of the game, I tweeted this out, but they had a 12% rushing success rate in the first half. So they had zero successful runs on early downs in the first half. Like, Justin was him in the passing game was single-handedly kind of keeping this offense afloat. The offensive line really struggled in the first half to generate any displacement or any movement in the run game. So like that was huge. I mean, the fact that he was able to do that, I mean, we're not just talking about a guy that I think we're all, anxious to see kind of develop. And, I think through the first 2 weeks, Justin had done a good job reducing the negative plays. He hasn't been taking a lot of sacks. He hasn't been putting the ball in harm's way with turnovers, et cetera, et cetera. I think 2 sacks today, the 1 turnover worthy play, but like for the most part, like a very good decision-making day for him again. But I thought just he was providing like serious value. I think he finished the day. Let me look here. He finished today, I think, with like 0.2 EPA per play. In this one, 0.2 EPA per play. He generated 8.2 EPA on the day. And all EPA stands for, I know some of you guys may not be familiar with that stat, but it's a really good analytical stat. But it's basically just expected points added. And he was fantastic today, guys. He really was. And even like, you look at like such rates as like passing success rate. I mean, they had a 51% passing success rate today. Like that's really freaking good. That's very good for this offense. And I'd kind of be remiss. I know a lot of you guys are kind of mentioned, um, Scotty Miller, Calvin Austin, like those guys stepped up tremendously today. I thought Calvin Austin like had his best game probably as a Steeler so far. I mean, that the 55-yard play was huge. We talked about it coming in, but they had only generated 5 explosive plays through the first 2 weeks of the season. Only the Panthers had less. And then they come in here today. I don't know how many they had, but they might have had 5. They might have had 5 explosive plays today. I mean, it was much, much better. So I thought, and then I really wanted to mention that play by Scotty Miller on that third down. I think it was like a 3rd and 6. It's just a speed out. He catches the ball at like 4 or 5 yards. Like it's either the difference of, if he gets tackled right there, you're probably punting or kicking away. And then he ends up breaking that tackle. And then they get an explosive play out of that. We talked about pregame, like make 26 tackle, and he's the one who missed that tackle. So that was pretty cool to see too. But overall, like I thought that this was a really, really encouraging win. And even down the stretch of the second half, like the Steelers offense really started to get something going. They finished the day. I mentioned 12% rushing success rate in the first half. I think they finished the day at 38%. So they were well over 50% in the second half. I thought Najee ran incredibly hard today. There was just no running room. Like they were not like I said, I think the Chargers were really dominating the line of scrimmage in the first half, really on both sides of the ball for the most part. And then the second half, I thought that the Steelers' toughness and physicality really shined through. So it was cool to see that. But I thought Najee ran extremely hard down the stretch. I know I was just doing the afternoon or the Steelers Now post game with Allen, and he would mention that Tomlin actually pulled Warren out. So I full disclosure, I haven't seen anything Tomlin said post game. So if there's anything pertinent that you guys have seen, y'all can drop that in the chat, but I haven't seen it. But I think he said that he actually made the call to like pull Warren out of the game, and we got to see some really cool Cordero Patterson runs. And I've mentioned this before, but Patterson's kind of a fun player to watch because he's got that real upright running style, the long strides. He's a really, really powerful dude, and it's a little bit narrative based, and it's the easy way to say it. But in games like this where you are able to get a lead going into the fourth quarter, it helps having multiple 235-pound backs. You know what I'm saying? Like for a team like LA that wants to play a lot of light boxes, they played a lot of too high safety shells. It helps to have 235-pound backs to just smash mouth people. And it was just cool the way that they finished the game overall. But I'm trying to think of other like key points that I kind of wanted to talk about. Talked about Herbig and just the edge rushers in general. Talked about the linebackers, the offensive line. I thought, I would really need to go back to the tape because it's always tougher for me to judge like offensive line play. I thought the sack that Dan Moore gave up was preposterous in my opinion. I have no idea what he's doing there with like the jump set because it looked like Harris was there for chip help. So like theoretically you want to set almost more inside to protect your inside edge if you're going to have help on the outside. Try to jump set him, and then Mac jumped right inside and got to Fields early. So that was not great. I think that he probably had a hand, at least in the first half, run struggles too. I thought Broderick was better. The big thing I was worried about in this one, especially, granted, it obviously helps when Joey Bosa gets hurt on the first drive of the game. And Bosa's always been a guy that's like really struggled to stay healthy. He's a great player when he's out there, but he's just hardly ever out there. But the big thing I was just wanting from Broderick, like just don't torpedo the entire offense, because there is like at this point, there's no backup. Like you don't have a contingency plan for a guy like Broderick if he goes out there and struggles. And I thought for the most part, it was fine. He had a sack that was wiped away, fortunately, due to a penalty. But it wasn't so bad that, he was a glaring weakness on the offense. I'm interested to see what the tape says. I do think that he had a couple mental mistakes in the first half that I'm interested to go back and look at, because they look like some misassignments on the couple first scripted drives. But overall, I thought Zach Frazier had some good moments, especially in the second half. I thought James Daniels might have had his cleanest game just off first watch. It seemed like a lot of their runs in the second half were kind of hitting off the backside of the right guard. And that's, Daniels kind of running his feet, creating those cutback lanes. And I was really impressed with that. Seemed like that's where their best runs kind of came from. Trying to think here. Wasn't really particularly worried about the secondary just because the Chargers don't really have any weapons that really necessarily scared me. The touchdown was a really good play by Herbert. What the Steelers are trying to do there is they're playing with a post safety in the middle of the field. They're doing what I call like an NTT, so non-traditional Tampa. They're trying to do a post snap rotation and fly Minka out to the half field. They didn't get a jam. Like Porter ends up falling for the kind of the shoulder fake. They didn't get a jam on Johnson. He streaks up the middle of the field. And then it's just too much ground to even ask a guy like Minka, who's obviously incredibly rangy, but it's just too much ground for a guy like him to cover with Herbert's arm strength. So that's just when you kind of tip your hat up to. The disguise didn't work and the quarterback beat you. But I thought for the most part, defense played extremely well again. They came into this game with the NFL's leading rusher, J.K. Dobbins. I think he had like 266 yards. I think he had 100 yards and a touchdown in both games before this. He comes into today. He has like 15 carries. I think it's like 44 yards, 2.9 yards per carry, and no touchdowns. Pretty good. I mean, that'll get it done. Like you will take that every single day of the week. So I definitely I definitely like that. I will try to get to some questions. I'm not going to stream like too long because I didn't really plan on like streaming at all today. But I did want to jump on here just because I was really excited about the game. It was a cool game. And like one thing too, like because I know there are probably questions in here about Justin. In my opinion, and I will preface this by saying it is not my decision. Okay, and I personally, I'm not going to get bent. I refuse to get bent out of shape if it goes a different direction. But if it was me, I think Justin Fields is a starting quarterback of this team moving forward. That's just my opinion. I think he showed enough to do that. I think that you could have probably left the door open for Russ before today. I think today's performance was, unless something on film like worries me, like sometimes like film can make you feel less optimistic about a performance. I would be surprised if that was the case about this one, but I was very encouraged by what I saw from Justin today. I thought it was much better than the first 2 weeks. I think, the Steelers sitting at 3-0. I mean, I don't think very many people expected them to be in this situation. I know I didn't. So the fact that, he's helped get them there, it hasn't been, super pretty. They ain't been blowing teams out or lighting up the scoreboard, but I think he's played well enough to where he should keep the job. That's my opinion. I know some of you guys may disagree. Y'all want to see Russ. I get it. It's not something I really want to like argue about, but like if it's me, Justin Fields would be the starter, like moving forward until further notice. Now, could that be a fluid situation throughout the season? If, he starts struggling, all the different scenarios, I'm not going to get into all those. But for me, I think that he gives the Steelers the best chance to win right now. And that's who I would pick to be under center, regardless of Russ's health, which I don't even know that he's going to be healthy for next week's game in Indianapolis. But you guys can let me know what y'all think about that. Y'all can drop comments in the chat. I'm probably going to stay on here for another 10 minutes or so. Just do me a favor. I know we've got about 150 people in here now. If y'all could just hit that like button for me. It's greatly appreciated on my end. Yes, Kelly, appreciate you. Smash that like button. Fields is the unquestioned starter. Yeah, I mean, it was great to see. Like, I mean, the middle of the field's been a wasteland for so long. It's just great to see. Sean, appreciate you, man. Thank you for becoming a member to the channel. I really appreciate it. I mean, I'm not going to act like, Russ is some bum and that he couldn't, like the offense would be like uncompetitive with him at quarterback. I just think that Justin's deserved the job. And it's not like a knock necessarily to Russ. I think the big thing is that you were kind of curious about going into the season was like, would Fields be able to take good care of the ball? And like, would he provide enough down-to-down stability and avoid those negative plays that I think sometimes plagued him a little bit in Chicago? And I think he's done that. And I think I speak for everybody when, we talk about, we want to see more points on the scoreboard. We want to see like more explosive plays. Obviously like 20 points ain't going to get it done against like teams that are like in the AFC Championship game. Like if you want to be a real deal contender, even when the defense is good as the Steelers, you're going to need to score more points in this in the playoffs. But at the same time, like I think that it's early in the season. I think Fields has played well enough to where he deserves the opportunity to continue to grow with this young offense. That's my opinion. I know some people may disagree, but that's just my opinion. Bo Nix had a good game today. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't tell you about that, to be honest with you. The defense was lights out last week. I thought Nix played terrible, but I don't really have any comment on that. But yes, the Steelers defense is very good, very good. Would be nice to see more design quarterback runs. They ran one early. That's one of the plays I think Broderick blew an assignment on. I think that the snap was high too, so the timing of it was going to be really weird. But I agree. Like I do think like there are some elements of the offense. I think Another element of the offense to me that I think has like significant room for improvement, and in order for it to hit probably its ceiling needs to be a lot better, is the play action passing game. I don't know, dude. Everything looks like really funky through the first 3 weeks of the season. They've tried to like use play action, take shots down the field, and that's what you want to do. But almost every play action pass is like ending up in a check down and or Fields getting hit, sometimes sacked. So it's like they haven't been able to generate anything. I think coming into the week, I was kind of charting all of Fields' passes. I posted it on Twitter, but I think he was averaging like 3.5 yards per attempt on like true play actions. And like for me personally, I bucket like play actions and keepers differently. Some people don't. Most sites don't. Um, but I do. And like the keeper game's been good. And obviously they're going to continue to do that with his athleticism, his ability to get on the edge, move, not just run, but just it's a good constraint type of play for their outside zone stuff. But I think the quarterback run game could be better. I think it will be better. The play action stuff, I'm not as confident on, but I think like when I think of like Arthur Smith's peak in Tennessee, obviously the talent, is different, but I think like the play action passing game was such a big part of their success. So yeah, the zone read stuff. I appreciate you, John, too. Membership, a lot of members in here I'm already seeing, so I appreciate y'all. Zone read, man, like that's the thing about the quarterback run game. Like you're always gonna have to account for two, and I think that if you're looking at like who should play quarterback, and I'm not gonna like turn this into like a Justin versus Russ recap, but like if you're looking for that element of the offense, like you always have to account for two in the run game, especially as it gets in the red zone. That stuff's pretty valuable, man. It's valuable. I don't know, man. It does suck because like it's someone DM me right before I jumped on the post game show, and they were asking me about this, and I was like, man, like how high would expectations be, or how high would the fan base be soaring if they did get a receiver in the offseason? Like if it wasn't just Pickens and some of these other cats that they're rolling out there, I think expectations would be like through the roof just based on how they've played. And of course, I think they would be better on offense because of it. As for like who could they trade for, man, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that people are going to throw around the same like names like Cortland Sutton, Devontae Adams. I don't think Sutton's like, I personally wouldn't give up like day 2 draft capital for Sutton. I just don't think he's that type of player. Now, would they be that desperate? I don't know. We'll see. But that's just my opinion. Devontae Adams, like I know he's been a trade rumor since he signed with LA. But I don't know. It would be nice to have. I mean, it would definitely be nice to have a wide receiver too, for sure, man. For sure. Yeah, I definitely want to something the Steelers did today, and it was kind of cool, like the way it all transpired. Wade, I appreciate you joining, becoming a member. Thank you so much. But one of the things they did today, a lot of jumbo packages, so a lot of 6 offensive line looks. But the funny thing is, like they were planning that going into the game, but Broderick was going to be the 6th offensive lineman. And then, of course, Tanu gets hurt on Friday, which is a really bummer, obviously. And then they end up having to use McCormick there. So it's like, I think that McCormick deserves even a little bit of flowers for just being able to step in and play when probably he didn't really think that was going to be the case. They're still doing some like weird stuff, man. Like they're rotating left guards. I don't know. I don't think that's very smart, but I'm just not a fan of rotating offensive linemen. But they like it. In my opinion, if Seumalo gets back, I think it's going to significantly help their run game. That's why I'm not like super concerned about some of the inconsistencies in the run game through 3 weeks. I know some people are complaining about some of the run concepts. I think people are overblowing the toss play stuff. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think y'all are like getting a little too on edge about the toss play stuff. Tosses out of the backfield, scrap those. Scrap them. But like tosses under center, like it's just another way to get to their outside zone stuff or their toss crack stuff. I think it's fine. But like the tosses out of shotgun, we can do without those. I would agree there. But even what I was saying is, even if Seumalo if he's not ready next week, I think you absolutely have to consider giving McCormick more playing time or just flat out starting. Trying to read through some of these comments. Yeah, and that's another thing too. That's a good point. I mean, Najee definitely probably punches that in the next play if they didn't, choose to kneel down. Appreciate you, Tom. Thanks for checking in with me, man. Appreciate you. I'm behind on the chat, probably, Val. I think. Yeah, I'm like 5 minutes behind, so that may be where you're seeing it. Yeah, I mean they do. But here's the thing with the rollout stuff, and maybe this is a good idea for a video if you guys are interested in that. Um, but the play action bootleg stuff for the keeper game, it's good because it's necessary in an offense like this if you're going to run that much wide zone because you have to be able to keep the backside edge defender. Like that player is the responsibility of the quarterback. But when you do the play action rollout stuff, you cut the field in half. So that alone makes life a little bit easier on the defense. Um, and there's only so much you can do about it. Like if you guys go watch or pay attention to this like next time on those like bootleg plays. There's only like the same play gets ran just different ways. Like you have a player in the flat, you have a player in the intermediate area, and then you have a clear out deep, and you just flood one side of the field. It's cool, but you really can't build like it can't be a significant portion of the offense. Now, the play action passing game in the pocket, like we've seen like teams that are limited from a personnel standpoint or want to play a very specific way. We've seen teams build like the whole arc out of that, and it does have some disadvantages in the long run when you're facing like the best teams or defensive coordinators that know how to stop that stuff. But it can be very good. And like the whole thing with the play action stuff is like it's the proven best way to create explosive plays. And like defenses right now, like everybody's talking about like the amount of too high, cover two, quarters, cover six, all this stuff. The reason for all that stuff because defensive coordinators are trying to make you check the ball down, take short completions, and that stuff. So like they're trying to take away the big plays. Well, play actions like where all the big plays come from. So not all of them, but like a lot of them do. And they just haven't been able to generate very much. So it's definitely something I'm watching out for. You know, I don't know, man. That's a good question. Um, I'm bummed about Trice's injury too. I think the depth at cornerbacks it's definitely a little shaky without him in there. It looked like he exited pretty early off of special teams play. At least that's what I've seen. I don't know. 3 weeks in, who's been the most surprising player to you? That's a good question, man. Put me on the spot. Um, I would really have to think about that, to be honest with you. There really hasn't been like a ton of stuff that's really necessarily surprised me, to be honest. I'd have to think about that. But one of the things I do want to talk about next week, not this week, but next week, I've already scripted some of it out, but I'm planning like a cool video that I'm going to do for the channel. It's going to be like basically what I want to do is I want to do like a stock up, stock down type of like quarterly review. So look at the Steelers season in quarters. So like every month or so, I'll put out like a longer form video, maybe midweek or something like that, where I talk about players that are trending upward, players that are trending downward. And then also like I have a couple other segments for that video kind of already planned out that I've already scripted out. So just be on the lookout for that next week because this will be a part of it. Like players that I think are playing maybe punching above their weight and players that kind of aren't meeting expectations. Cam Hayward continue to dominate. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think what he's doing, man, I just don't. He's kicking father time's tail right now, man. To be honest with you, I wanted more turnovers. I think if that game would have went on very much longer, I think you would have seen one because it really felt like the Steelers were really in a nice rhythm on both sides of the ball in that second half. They really dominated, to be honest. It's been really cool to see. Sean, I appreciate you becoming a member, man. Thank you very much. Definitely want to shout that out. Can or will they trade Russ midseason? No, I mean, I don't think that's gonna. I don't think that's gonna be the case unless like Russ like wants to go somewhere else where maybe he could potentially start if they stick with Justin. It's just really not. It's really not something I would definitely look at, to be honest with you. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys tapping in. 140 people in here. Need that JF2 breakdown. This is a good segment. Man, I love when you guys do this. Y'all make it so easy on me. I appreciate all you guys watching, tapping in, all the support for the channel. We've had a very, very good start to the season. And I don't have anybody to thank for that except you all. It's not possible without your all support. With that being said, over the past 10 days, I've seen a significant increase in membership signups. Basically what I'm doing over there is like I'm going to try to every week, if not every week, bi-weekly, doing kind of exclusive film room videos. And I know some members in the chat can probably attest to this, but they're really, they're deeper dives on like topics that may be like more, detailed, even more detailed, unique, in depth than like what I typically do on the channel, that I think you guys would really like. Um, it's just a way for me to put out even more stuff. And I know that we've done a lot of film rooms already this season, and I know you guys are excited about Justin. I would love to do a quarterback breakdown every single week. If you guys want to see that, I would, especially after games like this, that's definitely like what I want to do. I want to break down the quarterback stuff. I've been obsessed for forever. So if you guys like are looking for like even more content for me, like that's the way to get it. And there's a link in the description for you guys. Like you guys can go look at the different tiers, sign up. Basically, it's $4 a month. It's the price of a small coffee, and you get exclusive access. You get the emotes, all that stuff, and just it's a great way to like support the channel. And I greatly appreciate it. So I really appreciate everybody, all the new, old subs, new subs, like OG members, new members alike. All of you guys kind of really make this thing roll, and I'm really, really, really excited for like what we're gonna accomplish this season. And I'm gonna do everything I can to produce as much, high quality content as I can. Haven't really thought about too much about like what the film room stuff is gonna look like this week, but I can tell you that Fields is probably going to be one of them. So it's either gonna be, one of the live, the public film room, or something for the members, whatever. But we'll definitely do something Fields related, I would say, and then we'll think about the other one. I kind of want to do something on the defense too. I feel like we just did Herbig. He had a monster game. I kind of want to talk about him too. I don't know, man. Maybe I don't know. Hayward's been really good too. So I don't know. We'll talk about something. I think the run game element, especially in the fourth quarter, is definitely something I want to look a little bit deeper into, because it was really encouraging what I saw. But obviously, I know there's a lot of football games on. I'm seeing some people in the chat saying that Baltimore was up like 21-0. So it's kind of interesting. So kind of interested to see what's going on over there. Can we get a Peyton Wilson film room, coverages, some stuff like that? Man, Frazier would be a good one to do. We'll see on Frazier. That might be a good idea. We'll see on Frazier. Yeah, I'll take a look at that, because I think Frazier might be a good shout. That might be where we go, but we'll see. I know a couple of people ask about Peyton Wilson. There's not a recent Peyton Wilson film room up on the channel, but there is one. There was one from the preseason opener, or the second preseason game, for the member section, that you guys can go check out right now. So, but as always, I'm glad that they got a win for you guys. I know a lot of spirits are high, expectations high. It was definitely a good game. 3-0, man. Pretty crazy. But I will check you guys here in the next couple of days. I appreciate y'all's support. Just on your way out, if you could, just like the video, drop me a comment, all that stuff. Please enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will try to get something up for you guys sometime in the next 24, 36 hours, something like that. So I'll see you guys soon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Peace and love.